Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Briscoe. I'm with the Columbia Medical Recruiting Station, and we have.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Harris Abbassi. I'm the Deputy Commander for Medical Readiness over at Moncrief Army Health Clinic, Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
And we're here to tell you a little bit about what's life like as an optometrist.
In the Army. um, well, yeah, I was a military brat, and that was my first exposure to the military. My father, he immigrated from Pakistan back in the early 70s towards the tail end of the Vietnam War. And about a month later, he enlisted in the Army as a brand new private, came in Fort Jackson as a basic trainee, and he did 21 years and retired back in the 90s. And so I kind of grew up in it, and I really liked the lifestyle. It's changed a lot since then, but since I knew I wanted to pursue a career in the military, I went to the Citadel on a ROTC scholarship, and I knew I wanted to do something in the medical side. Didn't know exactly what, but the Army has, it's a very diverse organization with a lot of opportunities. And as I was a biology major and kind of figured out exactly what I wanted to do, I was commissioned, and I had a educational delay to go to optometry school. And later on, I was picked up for the Health Profession Scholarship Program, which is a great program. It allows a lot of medical programs, medical, dental, I think psychology, vets, I believe, as well. And it basically pays full board, full tuition, books, a lot of fees, and you also get a stipend. I believe it's about like a half of a second lieutenant's salary.
So right now it's $2,600.
26. Wow, that's a little more than I got back in the day.
Yes.
And some of you all, I think, get a bonus too. But I was basically paid to go to school, and you're still in the military reserves during that period of time. So you can still use some of the fringe benefits that come with the military, like the PX and the gym, things like that. I remember throwing a lot of barbecues out on the beach in Puerto Rico where I went to school. I was one of the only ones getting paid, so that
Wow.
made me kind of popular out there.
Okay.
But like I said, I always wanted to be a military officer, and so when it came down to assignments, our consultant, our optometry consultant, there's usually, whenever it comes to assignments, there's the Army's needs and then your wants, and so a lot of times we'll try to marry them up. And so the consultant just reached out to us as we're graduating, said, "Hey, where would you like to go? Here's a list of posts." And a lot of my classmates had deployed already. They're on the second or third tour. This is middle of 2008. So I just said, "Hey, I just want to deploy whatever unit's deploying first." And they're not going to deploy a brand new doc right out of the gates. So he was very cognizant of that. And I worked over at Fort Polk in the hospital over there for about 6 months to get my clinical skills up to speed. And he said there's a detachment out there that's probably deploying in a couple of years, and you can eventually deploy with them. Things in the Army change all the time. I ended up taking command of this detachment and took them out the door within a year. So there's just a lot of things change a little bit, but a great, phenomenal opportunity. And when we were deployed, we had a couple docs, and we just I had 2 clinics in Baghdad there for about a year. And I know a lot of folks think of deployment it's not something they want to necessarily pursue, but it was a great personal growth opportunity, definitely exposure to a lot of different things. And then as we redeployed, I ended up becoming the rear detachment executive officer for a combat support hospital. Again, a fairly new officer, but tremendous opportunity. And then Fort Polk is not one of the choice assignments in the military, but that post had a lot of opportunity for me. And after that, I remained in command for another year. And then the Army actually took a look at my career, and they said, "Hey, you've been in Fort Polk for about 3.5 years. We're going to send you to Hawaii."
Oh, wow.
And that was a great opportunity. I got married at that point, and I basically had a honeymoon for 3.5 years in Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, and beautiful place. And there, it was strictly more of a clinical role. And so the military medicine really has two sides to it. There's like a TDA side, which is kind of clinical, and there's the MTO side, which is like the tactical field units that actually deploy. And so when I was in Hawaii, that was more of the clinic. I was just basically a clinician, optometrist, seeing patients from 7:30 till around 4:30 in the afternoon. Yeah, so Hawaii was basically more of a clinical assignment. And I was seeing patients starting at 7:30 in the morning until around 4:30. And we have great equipment. Basically, if you need it, if you can justify it, it's best for your patients. A lot of times we can just easily go ahead and request that information or that equipment. And it is practicing in the military is great. A lot of my peers, they're worried about what medications to prescribe, what insurance, if the insurance is going to take it or not. But the military really allows you to practice at the top of your licensure, and you practice as a team. So you have a lot of peers of different skills and abilities that you can kind of bounce things off of. If I needed like a referral or wanted another consult, very easy to do through other military facilities. I mean, that was a great experience. And then from there, I wanted to do a little bit more of the admin side. And I was fortunate enough to get picked up for a long-term health education opportunity. And there's various different types to go to grad school to either get a business degree or a master's of healthcare administration. And the Army actually has a healthcare administration program affiliated with Baylor in San Antonio. And that was an eye-opening experience for me. It's a 2-year program. 1 year is basically you'll do 2 years worth of classes or the didactic portion. And then your second year, you'll do a residency or a fellowship. And so I was lucky enough to get picked up to do a residency with a civilian hospital in San Antonio. And I just worked side by side with the hospital CEO and really got to see medicine at a much larger scale than just seeing one patient at a time. And that was definitely an eye-opening experience. We had a hurricane that came through southeast Texas. Watching how the hospital incident command system works was an amazing experience. From there, I was fortunate enough to move to Vilseck, Germany, and I served as the chief of ancillary services. So I saw patients about half the time, and I also had pharmacy lab and X-ray. And then the world changed, COVID happened, and suddenly my lab and my pharmacy services were running very, very important, especially my lab. They were running 24 hours a day to make sure that our beneficiaries stationed in Germany had access to being able to get tested and we're not spreading the disease. So that was a kind of a trying time, but definitely surrounded with great teammates, and we were able to do amazing things. It's amazing. One of the things I'm always surprised at how whenever there's a challenge, how quickly soldiers and civilians around you kind of jump up to that occasion and make things happen. And then from there, I PCS back to Fort Jackson, where I'm really my main mission here is in charge of making sure trainees are medically in process as they join the military. So our reception medical clinic sees about 1,200 soldiers or trainees per week, and basically we have about 72 hours to get them medically processed, getting them about 6 to 8 vaccinations, making sure that they're medically cleared and safe to train. So it's an absolute privilege to kind of go full circle. You join the Army, now I'm kind of being part of that that thing that perpetuates the service well after my career is over. So that's kind of my career in a nutshell. Anything specific?
So with all of the experience that you have, like how do you think the Army has set you up for future goals? Like what is your plans once you decide you want to get out? Are you going to continue in the administrative side? Are you going to continue in the clinician side? Are you going to combine them? Like what is your plans?
Yeah, that's a good question. And like when I first joined, I really thought clinical is the only way because that's all I really knew. But just through the years that I've been in, the administrative field has kind of been a little bit more interested in it. And so when I take the uniform off, there's tremendous opportunity to go into the healthcare administration field with some of the larger civilian hospital systems, things like that. So that's definitely something in the back of my mind. My wife's also an optometrist, so I might keep my clinic. I might work for her part-time as well. And my father, he also started up a family business as well, so that's also in the back of my mind. But again, the Army just gives you a lot of skills, not just like the clinical things that they paid for school, but the leadership training and being able to just manage different circumstances. I think those are highly sought after skills that are valuable in the civilian world.
Yes. Yes. So if you have any advice or any, this is a mentorship opportunity for the students, anything that you would like to share with them, something that's pretty much kept you going throughout your career, and for anybody aspiring to work in that clinical role or even an administrative role, what is something that you would like to tell them to keep them going?
I would just say keep an open mind. We kind of only know what we know going into the field, but there's opportunity everywhere in the military. And you really got to, when those opportunities come, take those opportunities, and it'll expose you to a lot more that you probably didn't know existed. And those opportunities certainly open doors down the road. I never imagined I was going to be in command so soon, and that the opportunities and the mentorship and I guess the friends that I made so early on in my career back then have opened so many doors in the future. So yeah, keep an open mind and take opportunities as they come your way.
Well, thank you so much for your time, sir. And thank you all for your time as well. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.